WXII, local NBC here in Greensboro, Winston-Salem. Commissioner, I wanted to ask you about the school whose helmet isn't up there, Notre Dame. This month, earlier this month, Mike Krzyzewski and Steve Spurrier both spoke publicly and negatively about the decision to allow them to maintain independence while joining the league in every other sport. Be curious to get your comments, your response to their comments, and also given this precedent, do you anticipate other ACC schools may approach you asking to take their signature sports independent? In other words, if Florida State football or Duke basketball wanted to be independent in that one sport, what would you say to them?
Well, that number one, that was discussed when the league made the decision to bring Notre Dame in. I think bringing Notre Dame in is the right thing to do at this point in time. It was a unanimous decision by our institutions, and a very positive one that has already benefited us without question. I think Notre Dame is a great addition. If they ever do decide that they are going to join a conference in football through the 2026-27 year, that conference by contractual agreement would be the Atlantic Coast Conference. But I'm really pleased, and I know the vast majority of people in our league are very pleased that Notre Dame is a part of the ACC family under the conditions that they're currently under. And certainly if they ever make the decision to join football-wise during that period of time, they would be welcome with open arms.
And would other schools be able to break off? Would Florida State be able to play football?
And an issue, wouldn't expect it to be an issue, and that was discussed at the time, and there was an absolute and strong feeling within the room that would not be considered, would not be an issue.
Richard Walker, Gaston Gazette. You mentioned Charlotte and the ACC football championship game. I know that you've been ACC basketball there once. They're building a new baseball stadium. Talk about Charlotte's potential for venues for football, basketball, or baseball moving forward.
Well, it's a great city, an energetic city with outstanding facilities that are downtown and within walking distance of hotels. And so it creates a very positive environment for championship type of events. So now that's just being enhanced with the new baseball stadium. So, and plus it basically, even with our growth as a league, it's still geographically the sort of the epicenter of our league geographically. That hasn't changed either. So there are a lot of pluses there.
How soon will you decide the football future games?
We will decide that sometime around this year's game. Might be slightly before, might be at that game, it might be slightly after.
Go next to Carlton Tudor.
Thanks. John, has there been any discussion, I know you've mentioned a little bit, about trying to change the end-of-season football games, the non-conference, I think there's 4 now or 5 non-conference games.
Well, I don't know that they would all be non-conference games, but we are having some good discussions about having traditional season-ending games. Some would be non-conference, some would be conference. So those discussions are going on, yes, for the future. And there's some natural flow to all of our football scheduling right now, in the sense that we're incorporating the 5 games a year that our teams will be playing against Notre Dame, and it shouldn't be too terribly long before we have who's playing whom in what years through that entire cycle.
Stand over here on the edge.
Commissioner, Mark Larson from YNTV Syracuse, right down the middle. Right down in here. Here we go.
There you go.
How are you? Great to be here.
Thank you. And welcome to you.
Thank you. Before I arrived in Syracuse, I think in 2003 there was some talk about them joining the ACC, if I remember right. Can you look back and tell me what happened there, why it wasn't right then, but it is right now, and how excited you are to have Syracuse part of it?
Well, there's a whole history there, the way this has evolved. Syracuse has always been, from the time we started talking about expansion when we were 9, Syracuse was always a part of that discussion, and remains so, and I think for all the right reasons. And things happen sometimes for the best, and happen in their own time. And I think that really is what the answer is to your question. Syracuse brings a tremendous market, a great history, a quality institution, quality athletic program. Makes more sense than ever geographically now for us, in terms of what we've become as a 15-member league. And, so we're tremendously pleased that it ultimately happened. I think that each evolvement of our expansion efforts have really turned out well. Some have had some pain getting there. More recently, not so much. At the beginning, more controversy, more outside interferences, if you will, that impacted some of the decisions, but they ended up being really good decisions. And, I think that whole process over that period of time with Virginia Tech and Miami coming in first, and Boston College the following year to take us to 12, and then as things went in, at the time, I would tell you, we didn't have great anticipation about going beyond 12, but as things evolved and turned out in the landscape, and what we felt like was best for our league going forward, it just made a lot of sense to go to 14, and then when we had the opportunity to make the arrangement that we have made with Notre Dame, the 5 football games were critical to that. Without that, we would not have taken that step. But and then when the opportunity to bring Louisville in came, it's just made all the sense in the world to us. And Louisville, as you know, has just had an incredible athletic year that very few programs, if any, ever have in a single year. So that's why I said earlier in my remarks, I think we are as strong as we have ever been as a conference, and tremendously well positioned for not only the short-term future, but the long-term future.
David Teal, right in the middle.
John, David Teal from the Daily Press.
Hey, David.
One of the natural costs of expansion is playing your conference rivals in football less frequently. Florida State's closest school geographically is Georgia Tech. They're only going to play twice every 12 years now. How much, if any, discussion internally has there been about the current division setup, and how wedded is the conference to the Atlantic and Coastal is now structured?
David, there's been right much discussion about it for this reason. Every time we add somebody, it's discussed. And so, there's been a natural reason to discuss it with some regularity over the last few years. And each time, our schools end up basically at the same place